We do have item 2.01 in this opening of the board meeting, and that's discussion and or action to adopt resolution authorizing remote teleconference meetings through November 28, 2022. And Mr. Superintendent, this is what the board is routinely able to do, and we're doing it in front of the meeting. Well, you might as well just
in our last board meeting, we did approve a resolution. It was 30 days in length. I think it brought us to October 17th. We are past that. Therefore, we need to pass this resolution now for us to be able to teleconference this meeting and any other meeting in the next 30 days.
Very good. So members of the board, a motion is in order.
Second.
Moved by Doe and seconded by Cortese. Do we have to call the roll because one member's on Zoom? Okay, please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
We're having audio issues. She did, and she's in agreement. Member Doe.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. And with that item handled, the board now recesses. Good evening. Welcome to the board meeting of October 25, 2022. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and we're beginning a few minutes later than we had hoped, but we're starting our meeting now. Members of the public, you may submit your public comment as follows. You may raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak and offer your comment in real time. In-person public commentators will be allowed entry, 3 speakers at a time in the boardroom. Upon conclusion of a speaker's public comment on the agenda item, the speaker must exit the boardroom. You may also submit your public comment online by accessing the form on the district's homepage at ESUHSD.org. or the link on the agenda. Please reference the agenda item number in your written comment and limit your written comments to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comment submitted online will be read into the record. Please note that all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustees and board study sessions are streamed live on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district's YouTube channel listed on the district's webpage at ESUHSD.org under the Quick Links section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or to any personnel-related issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and/or the appropriate staff member for response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda or on the district's website. And the adoption of the agenda 7.01, this is an opportunity for the administration or the board to change the published agenda in any way. And if there is no change, I'm going to proceed to item 8, no items on the calendar under this section, special recognitions. And item 9, which is student board liaisons and For the first time this school year, we have formally a representative of Lee Henny, Student Governing Board Representative. Welcome on behalf of the board. And actually, this is your time to shine. You have up to 5 minutes for any comments you wish to make to the board and to everyone. Welcome. Speak into the microphone, please. Make sure it's on.
So as for updates,
Point it towards you. Point to.
There you go. As for updates from what Student Governing Board has been doing this school year, we are working with YWCA and the Teens Ending Abuse Club on a bulletin to make gender neutral bathrooms more accessible to students and to be able to publicize that information more widely. We are also working on, well, we have completed a student input poll and we're working on sending that out with Ms. Guillen and Mr. Vanderzee currently. And we have posted that on all of our social media. In addition, we have updated bylaws, which I believe I'll be going over soon. And we have elected all of our new executive officers with Emily Hsu as the vice chair from Piedmont, me as the chair from Evergreen, Kayla Tran as the secretary from Independence, Deekshana Surya as the attendance officer from Piedmont, and Jaslyn Tran as the public relations officer from Evergreen. That's all.
Does that conclude your remarks? Well, we're excited. We're going to be working with you and you with us. It's going to be a good year. You're in your senior year, right? Junior. What school?
Evergreen Valley High School.
Evergreen Valley High School. Okay, it's going to be an experience for both of us, so we welcome.
Official public welcome, Lee, from me as the board liaison. Very, very happy to have you here.
All right, moving on to item 10, special order of business operational items board discussion and or action, and item 10.02, presentation and or action regarding Silicon Valley Career Technical Education update from Superintendent of Metro Ed, Alyssa Lynch, and welcome. Welcome this evening.
Testing, now it's on.
Last time it took about 8 minutes to load. I think we're going to get a little closer. And
No
so
problem.
just look at me when you want to change the slide.
Okay.
Superintendent Lynch and our both business officials were able to meet a couple of weeks ago to start, talking about collaborating now and in the future. And this is a presentation. I believe you do with all the participating districts
Correct.
in the Metro Ed.
Yeah, so good evening and thank you for letting me visit with you tonight to give you a quick update on Silicon Valley CTE Center and our programs. And it was a nice meeting with Glenn, our first in-person meeting as well. This is my 10th visit to Eastside Union, giving this presentation and probably going to all the 6 districts. It's been about 60 times. So just ready to move on to the first slide. Every time that I give this presentation, I act as if you don't know about us. So I just give a brief overview that we serve 6 school districts. Clearly, you're one of the 6 school districts. And then we have 40 high schools. We have 23 high quality CTE programs. 19 of the 23 programs are University of California approved. And this year we have slightly over 1,200 students. If you haven't been to our campus before, I have a picture here just showing you that it's made up of 26 different acres. It's actually owned by all 6 of the school districts. And I won't give you the percentage, but I'll say that San Jose Unified has 42%, and then Eastside is second in line with that. And the next slide is basically telling you what's new this year and sharing with you that we have a new principal, Jeff Arnett, who came to us from Leland High School. Also, about 5 years ago, I reduced our morning sections from 3 hours to 2 hours for students. And beginning this school year, we actually returned to 3 hours in the morning. So when the students come to us, they spend a full 3 hours, and whether it's the morning or the afternoon. So we added back an hour, and we were able to do that based on the late start schedule. So we're super happy that we're able to provide students with more time at our center. We're going to share with you that we started our first summer exploration program last summer, and we had 80 students. A majority of them were actually from Eastside Union. So it gives them an opportunity to see what they might be interested in. They're exposed to 4 different careers in a matter of 4 weeks. Also sharing with you, Skills USA is our big leadership program. And we are super proud that we had a student from our dental assisting program. The student happens to be from Leland High School, San Jose Unified, but that student took 2nd place nationally. So nonetheless, it's still from Silicon Valley CTE and something that we were able to contribute to. Also, in the summer, July 1st, we received a $250,000 donation from Supervisor Joe Samidian, who toured our center back in May. And the purpose of it was to help us to transform our automotive program from a traditional automotive program to an electric vehicle program, and then for us to be able to expand and add a nursing program to our repertoire of medical service programs. And right now we are planning our first, I want to say, after school program. We're going to kick that off to launch in January, where we'll have 5 UC A through G classes that we'll be offering from 4:15 to 6:15. So if any of our districts have students that are already in our afternoon section, which is 12:45 to 3:45, they can stay and then take an after school program with us. Also, we're gearing up to offer the career exploration program, which you'll see a video on that in just a moment. And then something new for us, we have worked with charter schools, but during the summer, we reached out to KIPP Charter School, and they are interested in partnering with us. And so we did have 3 students join us this semester, and then we probably will increase by a few next semester and then expand the following year as well. So with that said, the next slide is a video, and one of your students is in here.
Focused on building a fun learning opportunity for students. Silicon Valley Career Technical Education provided high school students with a CTE Summer Bridge program.
This year for the Summer Bridge program, students explored different courses. In fashion, they developed their brand, their logo, and they started to develop their entrepreneurship skills by developing a concept of the business, designing clothing, graphic prints. And this really allows our students to see ESUHSD CTE as a possibility for the future.
Silicon Valley Career Technical Education teams set forth to provide the opportunity for high school students to get a taste of what CTE courses are available in high school. 150 students signed up through this process to experience medical assisting, pharmacy, fashion design, and veterinary science.
For me, like, life is about finding what you're passionate about and maybe what you're not so passionate about. And so for her, I think this was a great opportunity to do that in a really relaxed setting.
The 4 weeks of career exploration provided 10 elective credits. Students are given an introduction and start to learn the basics of each career pathway.
I thought it was really fun. I originally joined because I wanted to try out the veterinarian science program, but I experienced the other ones, such as medical science and medical assisting. And now there are like so many options. And I feel like maybe I want to go into the medical career field. And it was just like such a good exploration and so much fun.
SVCTE has 23 courses run by industry leaders, and 19 of our courses are UC A through G approved. Our accredited instructors prepare students for college and future careers.
during my senior year, I'm really interested in coming back here to look maybe to the dental field again, but I have an eyes for the eyes, obviously.
Sorry about the quality. It was a little bit difficult to hear. So your second student was from Yerba Buena, if you can see that. As far as the next slide, overall in the big picture, just to share with you that we had last year, 989 students that completed our program, 56 students completed dual enrollment. And then our data showed that 60% of the students are going on to college and 396 students received an industry certification. As far as being specific to Eastside Union in your data, you had 393 students receive UC A through G credit. That's what I'm always most proud of, because if they didn't take this particular program with us, it may not be one of the classes, or maybe they wouldn't have received A through G credit in that particular class. We had 166 articulations, and your district had students graduate with 430 certifications, and you had 18 students participate in Skills USA, which is a student leadership organization. You had one student receive a bronze medal, 3 with 3 gold medals and 5 silver medals. And then 3 students back in June actually went and traveled to Atlanta to compete.
Fantastic. Can I ask a quick question about this slide?
Sure.
The 56 dual enrollment, is that like community college class?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
With what community college?
We're in the San Jose City district. We reside in that between Eastside and San Jose Unified, but we actually articulate with all 6 of the community colleges. So some of them are with West Valley, some of them were De Anza, some are Foothill. So it depends on the program.
And can you give me an example of what, I'm not all 56, but like what maybe are some of those?
The dual enrollment classes. One of the examples, we have a mechatronics program, and that actually has dual enrollment with Evergreen Community College. And then the veterinary program has dual enrollment with the veterinary program at Foothill.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so those are just a couple examples.
Thank you.
And this is just Eastside data, yes?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
This is just Eastside data. It says end of the year data, but then I see Eastside data, it's separated.
Yeah.
But is it 989 total students, but specifically 393 received A through G? Is that okay?
Correct.
Okay.
Below where it says Eastside, that is your data. Above is our data as a whole for all 6 districts. So yes, only pay attention to the bottom.
Okay.
It breaks it out for specifically to Eastside Union.
So there are 393 students from Eastside that go to this program.
There's actually, like this year, which I'll get to one slide, 571.
Got it. Okay. And what's an articulation?
Articulation means that they get college credit while they're in the program. You have that at your own home school as well. So it's not just at SVCTE, but it's a class where the teachers get together. They look at their course outline, they sit down, they look at their units, and then they evaluate it that if the student gets a C or better, then they get college credit. And for some colleges, you have to go there and register. For other colleges, you just get the automatic 6 units. So it transfers and gives you a head start, and it's free. So that's an articulation agreement. You can work with community colleges who want to actually have your students or our students, the students we share, continue on with them. And so it gives them a head start.
And this is in addition to A through G.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be close to at least 4 or 5, close to 600 students that have some sort of college credit. Is that accurate?
I would go with the 166. If you see the number with the 166, the 393 helps you apply to University of California. They like you to have A through G credit if you're planning to go there.
Whereas the articulation is actual like university or college credit itself.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to retake that class if you went to a college. You already have that credit. It's like giving you a head start. Sometimes it's 3 units or 6 units you already have towards your associate's degree.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. So the next slide it's kind of similar to the last slide, just telling you in the big picture, we're showing you that we have at the beginning of this year, 1,177 students. And it just shows you from top to bottom, the enrollment that we have. So that's just the big picture, all of our students. But the slide below that actually shows you your specific students. So you have the 571 students, and you can see it mirrors the data that was above. Our most popular program is the medical assisting program, and then dental, and then below that is auto services. So basically what I'm showing you is the student enrollment by class. And the next slide shows you by school. So you can see the breakdown. I always kind of look for the highest and the lowest. The lowest right there, I see 7 students from Phoenix for alternative school, and then 85 students coming from Mount Pleasant. And then you can see all the other numbers in front of you. And then each year I drop off a year. You can look at your student enrollment history. I will drop off the last year, but it just gives you an idea. We did have an increase this year. Prior to that, for the last 4 years, we had a slight a decrease. So that leaves you with the 571 students that are attending right now. And that's my entire presentation, short, sweet, and to the point.
Very good. I'll just add a comment that Metro Ed, pulled through a challenging period and is thriving at its level of resources at this point. Really appreciative of the leadership of Superintendent Lynch and her team. I think that there's kind of an optimal sense of team that has developed at Metro Ed, and the programs remain vibrant and really popular with the students. And this remains a crown jewel of the region and of this district. And key to it all continues to be that the districts maintain fairly close the enrollment that they currently have, because if it drops in any significant way, it does put the organization on tilt. So there have been a lot of problems solved along the way, a lot of adjustments. Metro Ed is not the only one who's had to go through that. But we're in a period where very good things are happening at this organization, and I'm very happy to be a part of it at this point. So any other comments or questions?
President Von Lay has her hand raised.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ms. Lee.
Hi, thank you, Superintendent Lynch, for your presentation. I always want to say that, thank you for the accommodation for our student. My question is for you, do we have any student that they have to wait on waiting list if they want to attend particular courses that you offer for, as VCTE? And the next question for me also that if a student took the class, but they found out that they probably didn't have any interest on that class, could they drop out? Or would they have to register, or they have to come back to their home school? So could you clarify those 2 questions for me, please?
Certainly. Thank you for the question. So to answer your first question, we have traditionally a number of classes that have a waiting list. And so it's always veterinarian. We always have more students that sign up for that program. It's not on any of the high school campuses, and students, they just know what they want to do. It's a great teacher as well. Animation is a second class that always has a waiting list, and then medical science. And so our health careers, medical science classes, and dental programs, they're always impacted. So we have a wait list, and we do have students. I'm moving right into your second question. We do have students that come and they say, this class is not necessarily a fit for me. I would like to, they might say drop, and we would say, we would like you to try another class first. And so we would give them something, we would call it a second choice. And often, more often than not, when they go to their second choice, they're very surprised that they actually like it clearly better than they did their first choice, because they were choosing to leave that one, but they're very surprised that they like that. And, you know, they would not have thought I would like animation if I signed up for fashion, but they're both in the arts. So we do have success, and transferring students if they want to drop to try another class. And then there's a date where the counselors say, I'm sorry, you can no longer drop. You need to stay in that class, because it's hard to find a fit for them to go back to their home school after a certain number of weeks.
Great answer. So my next question for you is, when the student want to attend those classes like medical assistant and they have to on waiting list, so how can you accommodate that? Do they have to wait for another semester, or they have to wait for another year? You know, because I know the interest of our student, they probably want to attend those courses at that year or that semester. So how could you accommodate that? And I just want to understand, you know, the process on that.
The first part of the answer is that we first check to see if they're a junior. So if they're a junior, then we could actually move them to another class and ask that they would come back next year. And then we would, the second choice would be to allow them to be in another program. And then if we have students that leave, for example, the medical class that you're asking about, or even if it was animation or veterinarian, it could be 3 or 4 weeks later that they decide to leave that program, and then we would transfer a student in. If that failed, then all else, we would have to say that you would have to come back next year. They may not be able to do that. They may be moving on to college.
Oh, great. So that's very good to know about it. So I always amazed with one of those courses that you provide for our student. But one more question for you is our Independence High School, and we do also provide the auto classes. And in your the school, and you also provide the auto services, do they complement each other, or would they have 2 different auto service classes that the student can take? Just kind of curiosity.
Not sure I heard perfectly your question, but I'm going to try to answer it anyway. The classes, part of it would be similar, and the class at Eastside Union would be a 1-hour class. If they were taking a program with us, because it's 3 hours a day, it would be, I want to say, more in depth. And so yours, probably the students are going to be learning the basics about brakes and transmission, and ours is going to be brakes and transmission, and then there's going to be the electric vehicles, and then the old-fashioned carburetor, and then, you know, other parts of the car. So it's just that they spend a whole lot more time on it, and then they actually go to student competitions. So I'll just say that there's more details and more depth, but I'm not going to name all the different units.
Thanks a lot, Superintendent Addition. Thank you for your answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment or question?
I have questions. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I'm curious to learn more about the programming itself. Specifically, I know we saw a quick video on the Summer Career Exploration Program. It sounds like that's new, but I could be wrong. Can you share a little bit more about what the purpose of that is? I can deduce, but I'm curious to see like what it looks like, what have been the outcomes, how has that supported the program? And then once we go through that, I can ask my other question.
Okay. So one of the things that we pride ourselves on in some way, when students go through high school and they take, if they're on the UC track, they may take only a few classes that are career technical education. If they come and enroll in the summer career exploration program, it's one thing that I already mentioned. It's like they get to explore 4 different careers in 4 weeks. And there's students who may not get to explore that in 4 years of school. They may take one per year, you know, one elective or one career tech ed. So it really gives them the opportunity to try on a wider variety of classes to find out if they like it or not. And a lot of students take a class that they didn't really know that they could possibly be interested in.
So it's 4 weeks long, and every week is a different career, if you will.
Mm-hmm, correct. They rotate.
And these are juniors and seniors?
Mm-hmm. We're actually taking sophomores next year as well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And this is the first year that it was done?
Yeah, in the past, they've done summer camps. It was a little bit different. This one was actually for school units and credits.
Oh, nice.
That's why it's different. So they can make up if they didn't do well in one of their classes during the school year. The same thing with our upcoming after school program.
Double dipping. Okay, I like that. So yeah, you alluded to my next question. After school programs, there is the AM and then a PM. Is the PM the after school, or is there an after school to the PM?
The PM, the first PM is in the afternoon. So it's 12:45 to 3:45. That's what we have right now. Starting January, we're going to add an after school program. I'll just call it an after school program. It will be in the PM, but you know, you would have PM class and then another PM class. So we'll just call it an after school program.
Do you have information on that? Like, how is that going to work? How is it going to complement the current programs? I'm curious, why January? Why didn't we start? I'm just, this is coming from a place of curiosity. Yeah, because I just saw it noted, but I don't really know what it entails.
I can send it to Glenn and then he can forward it to you. We have a single page flyer on that. And why did we start it in January? We have a new director of ed services who is putting it together for us. So we also started the summer one, the same person. We had a lot of success. Like I said, we put it together rather quickly. We had 80 students. We really want to provide, I want to say, value added for our districts. At this time, there's no cost for students. So we're just giving them a great opportunity.
Oh, wonderful.
We're looking at how can we do something different.
I'd love to continue learning like how that turns out. I really like what you just shared about the summer career exploration. Because oftentimes, you know, we don't think about potential careers that we can pursue. We don't necessarily see ourselves there, but even a week can have a huge impact. Sounds like these students really enjoyed it. And so, yeah, let's love to have you back. And as we learn how this program is rolled out and what are the wins.
Okay, thank you. And I did think of one other thing. Another reason is because a lot of times I had to think of this when they are on a UC A through G pathway, they may not be able to fit those classes into their schedule. So therefore they would take it in the summer or they could take it after school. There you go.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So do have a request for comment calling on Veronica Guizar. Could you just step aside for a moment, Ms. Lynch, and let her speak? She's in the room. Speak into the microphone. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, there's a 2-minute time limit, up to 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much.
And state your name for the record.
My name is Veronica Guizar. I'm the mother of Lucero Rivera, who, oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so my daughter, Lucero Rivera, is going to Mount Pleasant High School at this moment. She's a senior. She had the opportunity to go ahead and assist being part of pharmacy tech last year, her junior year. Unfortunately, her experience was very, very, it was very difficult. She, by December, had an A, very solid A. When we got back from vacation, her A went to a D on her report card. She spoke to her teacher, said, hey, how did I end up with a D? I had an A. And the teacher goes, I made a mistake. I'll go ahead and fix it. So all this went all the way to April when it finally got to me. At an IEP meeting, I was told that she had a D in that class. I sent an email. I let the teacher know. The teacher at no time was specific what grade she would have. I did ask, so this is what my daughter's telling me. What is your version? Is this correct? Did she get, a D and was actually having an A? She would not indicate what grade she would have, what happened, until finally we got the vice principal involved. And this was by May. And then the change of her grade happened the end of August this year in September. She got a B. So what happens with this is now, because she didn't have that A during that semester in December, she didn't get a certificate of completion for her pharmacy tech. She didn't get the opportunity to do an internship the next semester to go ahead and be able to start working as a pharmacy tech. Right now, I'm working with the principal, Mr. Arnett, to get the certificate of completion that she did complete pharmacy tech and see how we can do to get her into an internship before she goes off to college. That was our experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment, and I always appreciate hearing from our parents and all of our stakeholders. I know this administration to be very responsive when things are brought to their attention. And I'm a member of Metro Ed Board as well, so I'll be looking to hear from Superintendent Lynch. I think you will find some responsiveness and some answers, and it may be instructive for us, the experience that your family is having. Overall, this program has had an amazing impact in so many lives, and we want this to also end up being one that you can look back on. Appreciate the opportunity for this. So thank you. And before we conclude, I want to acknowledge also with us tonight is the CBO, the Chief Business Officer for Metro Ed, Dorothy Recanosa, in the back there. Welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. We're going to move on the agenda. We're on to item 10.03, receive first reading of proposed amendments to Student Governing Board bylaws. Board Clerk Cortese, who is the board liaison to the Student Governing Board.
Yes, and I'm going to turn this issue over to our Student Governing Board representative, Lee Henning.
Okay, so I won't be going over each specific article, but we made 9 main changes to the bylaws. The first of which is that we wanted to have a clarification because some of the language is a little bit unclear. So we already had this before, but we clarified that there are 4 reps for each comprehensive school and only 1 rep for each alternative school. And for voting rights, we clarified that there is 1 vote per school instead of each person getting 1 vote. We changed the Student Governing Board representative position to the Student Assembly Coordinator, which is 1 representative from each school who is in charge of voting during meetings and facilitating SGB school site meetings. And then for the termination and attendance process, we decided that 3 consecutive absences without a prior notice to the attendance officer may result in a termination that would be decided on by the executive officers. We added another article titled Composition of Student Governing Board, where we detailed the different members and how many members from each school there would be. We also added a new executive officer position, which is the attendance officer, and they are in charge of making sure that people come to the meetings and also letting the rest of the officers know if there is a member that needs to be terminated. We modified the quorum process so that the new quorum would be majority of the school sites with at least 1 student assembly member, because in the past, we had issues with not having quorum and not being able to change anything because we did not have enough representatives from different schools. So now we will always have enough for quorum. And the last one was us clarifying that SGB is made up of student assembly members, student assembly coordinators, and executive officers. Instead of student governing board representatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm realizing I merged your first and last name, Lee Henny, and I called you Lenny. That's my apologies, and get it straight going forward. Anything else, any comment here?
Just for the board, this is a first reading, and this will come back, I believe, next week for adoption. So this is the Student Governing Board's own bylaws, but we memorialize them with our board documents. So we'll be ratifying this next week.
Good. Now, if there's nothing further, we're going to move on to item 11.01, which is a public hearing. And I'm going to open the public hearing as we do by protocol. Opening the hearing for resolution regarding the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials per Education Code 60119. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this issue? Per protocol, this is a second call for any testimony on this matter. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this issue? And Mary Gillen, I am assuming that no one is signed up to speak on that. No one is signed up, no one in the room. For the third and final time, calling for public speakers on this issue. There being no persons present who are interested in providing testimony, the public testimony portion of this item is now closed. Thank you. Moving on to 11.02 regarding the sufficiency of textbooks, and this is for action by the board. Is there any comment that Associate Superintendent Marquez wanted to make?
Just to remind the board that this is a required item as per Assembly Bill 599, and staff is seeking approval of the resolution noting sufficiency of instructional materials.
So the board, a motion is in order.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Cortese, seconded by Chavez. If there's no further discussion, please call the roll. We're calling the roll because one of our members is participating online.
President Herrera?
Aye.
Pardon me, Mary. Because we have a student representative, we need to get the student votes first. Thank you.
That's correct. Student board representative, how do you vote on this matter?
I move to approve.
Okay, you vote yeah, aye or yes. Okay, thank you. And now call the roll.
President Herrera?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
Clerk Cortese?
Aye.
Member Lay?
Aye.
Member Doe?
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 12.01, and this is where public members who wish to address the board. Do we have any requests to speak or any comments that have been filed online? You're bringing a request to speak up to me. All right, again, calling to the podium, Veronica Guisar on this item, 12.01, public comment. Please state your name for the record.
Veronica Guisar. So I am a mother of 4 kids that are dyslexic, dyscalculic, and have ADHD and ADD, and through their experience in school have become anxious. They've had IEPs since they're in elementary. 2 of them have had IEPs since they were 3 years old. Now, currently, because of COVID, I was able to see that they were dyslexic. Before I would ask the IEP members, hey, what's wrong with my kid? What is it? Is there a name? No, they're just, That's just the way they learn. And so since then, I've been working on getting them AT assessments, getting them assessed for dyslexia and dyscalculia. One of my daughter, which I indicated before, Lucero Rivera, has been in Mount Pleasant School District. I started the process with her first, and she was the last one to be given the AT assessment, as well as the FAR assessment for dyslexia. There's a lot of problems that we've come in with the administration and student support here at this district, with Alejandro Rivera, which is now in 9th grade, and my daughter in 12th grade. IEPs were just made longer. Services were not being provided. The things that we said in the IEPs were written incorrectly on the agenda, on the notes that's given to the parent to sign. And then it was delayed to even receive it. By the time I'm receiving those notes, we're already having another meeting for the student. My daughter, I asked for her to have an AT assessment in 10th grade. She finally barely got her computer this year. And she is now in 12th grade. And she just started having her correct assistive technology. My son that's in 9th grade, same assistive technology was recommended, yet the district has not put that into effect. And thank you for your time.
Thank you again. We appreciate hearing from our parents, and I just find it admirable how you advocate for your children. So just keep hanging in there, and hopefully we can meet you where you are at your point of need in your family. Duly noted by the superintendent. All right. Thank you. Is there any other comment?
We have online public comment.
Go ahead and read it.
Online public comment from staff member Jennifer Black. I have been a teacher at Oak Grove since 2002, and I have never experienced a more negative campus climate. There are multiple groups of students who think it is okay to skip class and vape on campus all day, and who verbally abuse any staff members who gently suggest that they go to class or stop doing drugs on campus. Since there are no consequences, or almost no consequences, for the students' current behavior, this negative behavior is reinforced. We could use more advisors and campus monitors to supervise the campus during the school day and to consistently contact the families of these truant and disrespectful students. Our current APA, 2 advisors, and 1 campus monitor are not enough. We could also use a well-staffed program of in-school suspension to provide both appropriate consequences and counseling for such students. I encourage you to visit the Oak Grove campus in person to understand what teachers, staff, and the rest of the student body are facing daily. Public comment from staff member Anel Vera. Real situation happened a few weeks ago. A student who has had a mother on school site council before, and both of their parents are positively involved in the community, asked to go to the bathroom. I write them a pass with their name, date, time, location, and reason. All reasonable requirements from our administration. In less than 20 seconds, the student returns. I ask them if they went to the bathroom, and they tell me it is okay, they don't have to go anymore. The other students in the class respond that they know why this good kid student doesn't have to go anymore, because of a posse of students who hang out inside the bathroom doing drugs, and this goes for the boys and girls bathroom. If we were a private business with a place on the New York Stock Exchange, customer safety would be our primary concern, not in words, but in action. If our customers feel safe, then I know our workforce will feel safe too. Public comment from Zephyrina Appleby, staff member. Student misbehavior is the #1 issue with Oak Grove this year. There are no disciplinary actions taken for student misbehavior. Because of this, teachers are struggling. We have no support from neither parents nor the administration. Many teachers are searching for a new job for the following school year. We are going to be short-staffed. This will create even a bigger problem because we are going to be asked to sub even more. We do not have the time to sub. We're struggling with our own class and should never be directed to sub. We do not like to sub mainly because students are so misbehaved. I have never thought about retiring until this year. Things have to change or will get much worse. I do not understand why there are no consequences for misbehaved students. I know one of I know of one student last year was involved in at least 2 fights. This year he has had 3 fights. Why is he still at our school? Message is clear. You can do whatever you want and not get in trouble. There's more. Public comment from Nicole Jacobson, staff member. I'm a teacher at Oak Grove. I know I speak for more than just myself when I say that this year has been extremely challenging, both in the realm of teaching and as I respond to other needs on campus. I believe significant adjustments must be made to address the mental health crisis and reduce functioning of our student and staff alike. We need to recognize that increased behavioral problems are likely a result of the past 3 years of trauma, changes, and loss of structure our students have faced. Additionally, our staff is overwhelmed this year, and I see a need for additional support in the form of an advisor and campus monitor to help manage student truancy and other behaviors that are causing the problem around campus. The active recruitment of substitute teachers and a focus on retention of current teachers is also a priority that I believe would boost staff morale and improve our school. Public comment from Morgan Goldstein, staff member. I'm a teacher at Oak Grove High School and am asking the board to allocate more personnel to help us maintain a positive campus climate. Currently, there are dozens of students who not only refuse to go to class, but spend their time outside the class vaping, fighting, and harassing teachers who happen to ask them to go to class or even simply walk by during their prep periods. I personally have experienced these students speculating about what my underwear looks like because I happen to be in their vicinity. However, teachers are not the only campus community members who are affected. Many of the freshmen I teach are afraid to use the restrooms because of these students. They do not feel safe on campus when simply addressing bodily functions, risk exposure to drugs, and or feel safe on campus when simply I'm reading that again, or violence. We need more advisors and campus monitors who can focus on providing these students the appropriate supports and interventions needed to maintain a campus that is safe and welcoming to everyone. Public comment from Jaime Sandoval Gonzalez. I had a staff member. I had a bad experience last year during a special education class. Students on this class think that they can do whatever they want to. They're talkative, disrespectful, and irresponsible. I subbed 2 days. On the first one, they were only talkative, but in the second day, it happened the following. I closed the door 5 minutes before the bell rang, but before the bell rings, the end of the period. When out of the classroom, there were several special education students making noise. One of them started to kick the door and yelling to me to open it. Once I opened it, the student approached me with a violent behavior, saying some inappropriate words. Mr. Frankina went to the classroom and the student kept talking to me. Inclusive in front of Mr. Frankina, called me stupid. There were no consequences for the student and he never gave an apology to me. It was so frustrating. This year I was subbing on biology second period. I do not have the space to describe the second one. But on this site, there are no consequences of misbehaving students. Public comment from staff member Melissa Peth. Our campus climate at Oak Grove needs an overhaul. Groups of students loudly roam the campus during class, often smoking and yelling profanities at adults who try to encourage them to go to class. We are lacking supervision outside of the classroom and accountability for misbehavior in and outside of the class. We need campus monitors to enforce the supposed rules, as well as a support team with the time to contact family and work toward restorative justice. Without follow-up, these students are sent back to class to continue misbehaving at the detriment to other students' learning. This, along with covering other teachers' classes on our prep periods, is increasing teachers' burnout like never before. Public comment from staff member Denali McCulloch. Oak Grove High School is in desperate need of more advisors and campus monitors. There are a group of students that wander the campus and do not attend their classes. Sometimes they decide to enter class and cause disruptions. I've seen some of these students enter a classroom very late with a big bag of food, completely disrupting class. The student bathrooms need to be monitored. I've seen groups of students entered the bathroom during class, and students have reported not feeling comfortable using the bathroom when these groups are in there. Public comment from Sarah Renault, staff member. I'm in my 13th year teaching in Eastside, and I have never felt so demoralized or exhausted. I in fear on a daily basis that fights will erupt in my class, as I have already had to stop 2 this semester alone. There seems to be little to no consequences for what used to be considered unacceptable behavior on campus. Now students smoke openly on campus in front of staff, threaten and physically hurt other students, and are often sent back to class with only a talking to. Teachers are constantly being sworn at, and if you are a female teacher, the comments are also often very sexist and demeaning in nature. Students do not take classroom consequences seriously because they know they will usually not be reinforced by the office team. I usually go an entire year without writing a single referral. This year I've written several, and it's only October. Please help us before we lose more staff than we already have. Public comment from staff member Lynn Johnson. I'm concerned about the current state of student behavior on campus. There are a large number of students who do not attend class or come extremely late, last 5 minutes of the period, or come so that they can be marked present and leave without permission. These students mill around on campus and are disruptive to classes. There seems to be no consequences for these students. I suggest Eastside Union High School District adopt a much stricter policy for non-attendance of class. These kids do not care if they fail their classes. They need a better carrot or a bigger stick. Public comment from community member Robin Reynolds. Oh, I apologize. This individual is raising their virtual Zoom. That is the end of online public comment.
Okay, thank you very much, and appreciate hearing from our staff at Oak Grove High School for the protocols for unscheduled items and public comments under this section. There is no response from the board, but it is duly noted by the administration.
Sure.
Thank
Board
you.
President, we do have a person who is online that I will allow to speak for 2 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
BWC Marcom, talking is permitted. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I am Robert Reynolds. I'm with Bill Wolfson Center. We provide homeless youth services and programs throughout Santa Clara County. And I'm here tonight to actually give kudos, especially to one of your schools, the students, staff, administrators at Evergreen Valley High School. Since 2014, the students have raised monies to help their peers, their peers who are homeless on the streets of Santa Clara County, to the tune of over $40,000. This past year in their Smash and Splash program, the students raised over $12,000 to help their homeless peers improve their lives. Special kudos out to Associate Principal David Bustani, who started the program with us, along with Virginia Yanowski, the Activities Director, and Principal Kyle Kleckner, who have all taken the pies in the face, the buckets of waters over their heads to help encourage the students to raise money to help their peers in this valley improve their lives. And I even did it this year. I was privileged to take the whipped cream pie in the face, the water bucket over the head, to say thank you to the students for what they have done and showing that they care for their fellow youth in the valley. So from Bill Wolfson Center to the district, and especially to Evergreen Valley High School, we say thank you. And next year is number 10, and we hope you all can attend the event. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any other comments? Okay, so we are concluding item 12. or section 12 of the agenda and moving on to section 13 and 13.01, discussion and or action regarding measures to assess and address wage theft in connection with district capital projects. And this is an item that I have put on the agenda. And my computer will not give me access to the internet, so I can't see the memo that I filed with this item, but I do have my rough draft. I'm not going to read it from here. So, no, that's all right. I've got the basics of it here. I took an interest, or I have taken an interest in this issue as I've become aware of it, and believe that it is something that the board, as the board becomes more informed about wage theft in the construction industry and how it may be affecting our own bond program and projects, that it is something that we're going to want to be a part of responding to in a very general way. And this is in preparation, by the way. I'll be coming back to the board very soon with an actual proposal for how we might be more proactive in this area. Tonight is more introductory and to ask for the board's agreement on one part of it, which I'll get to. But generally, I'll just say that according to the UCLA Labor Center, there's a thing that keeps popping up and it blocks my screen regarding the certificate for connecting to the internet, which it won't let me do, but it just keeps popping up this little thing and obscures my thing. I have to keep moving it. So according to the UCLA Labor Center, various forms of wage theft remain rampant, both statewide and nationwide. This includes non-payment or underpayment of wages, as well as misclassification in order to avoid paying what ought to be paid. Additionally, a jointly published paper by the Economic Policy Institute and the Harvard Labor and Work-Life Program, this again, concluded that inadequate enforcement resources, and this is key, inadequate enforcement resources allow too many exploitive employers to operate with impunity. And then finally, a KQED report on the pandemic of wage theft in California found that wage theft occurs with alarming frequency in California. Many employers, large and small, shortchange their workers by not paying them the minimum wage or required overtime, making improper deductions or refusing to pay them altogether. The sheet metal workers, a local union, Local 104, here in this city and area, employs a full-time compliance staff of one person, and just with that one person, they obtain civil wage and penalty assessments of nearly $1 million each year against various contractors that fail to compete on a level playing field, most of which do not have to do with the Eastside High School District, but is illustrative of what is happening locally on the field. What I generally understand and will be more clearly laid out at a future agenda item is that there is a way to counter the lack of enforcement resources. Right now, basically, it's a state system that complaints can be filed with, which are backlogged, slow to act on, and it is a reactive system that moves slowly and essentially ends up being no justice over time. What is being proposed is a proactive system that'll actually enlist a team, a compliance team that will go out and check with workers to get basic answers to their work schedules and their classifications and so on, and develop the evidence for violations. And there will be a optional system for working with essentially an administrative judge and what have you. It's more technical than I'm able to explain right now, but this proactive system can work as an alternative, meshing right with the state system. And there are legalities in all of this that need to be, the finest minds need to be involved in looking at how to fine tune the legal aspects of it. So the ask tonight is for the board to authorize our general counsel, Rogelio Ruiz, to consult with the attorney for Sheet Metal Workers Local 104 so that there can be a refinement of the legal aspects or technicalities of the proposal that will be brought forward to the board for review and for whether we wish to adopt this experimental model. Part of what would be learned from trying this on the field is what would be the response of contractors given their options. Would they consider it net to their benefit to work with this system and make the corrections, or would they counter or sue or oppose in some way? We believe there will be incentives there for them to actually subscribe to this alternative proactive model that would mesh with the state system. Everything has to be tested. The thinking is fairly creative and innovative for this proactively oriented systemic piece. It gives, and this is what excites me, it gives a system ally to workers who often don't even realize they're being exploited or who realize it but feel helpless in the face of the unresponsiveness of the system at large. Questions, comments? Again, the ask is to approve that our general counsel would work with the attorney for Sheet Metal Workers Local 104, consulting with them for bringing back an actual proposal that the board would more in depth be discussing and determining whether we want to venture into this wage theft justice seeking initiative. Yes.
Thank you for bringing this forward. You know, wage theft is something that I've become aware of over the years and greatly concerned about it. And certainly, you know, we have had quite an elaborate bond program over the years. And, you know, I would want to make sure that as a district that we're not participating or enabling any bad actors to be taking advantage of their employees in a manner such as this with wage theft. So I'm very interested and supportive of learning more and having this proposal be vetted by our legal counsel.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Vaughn has her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Board President Herrera, to bring this issue on the wage theft on the agenda today. And I agree with Board Clerk Patty Cotizzi that I'm also interested to learn more. And I really want to support this item for legal counsel to explore and bring back to our board so we can maybe issue you know, any resolution or explore in a different way to protect, you know, those employees that probably will work on some of our measure bond construction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comment? Yes, Vice President Chavez.
Thank you for bringing this up. I think this is an important issue. Just to make sure that I'm understanding this at a high level, can you just synthesize? You went into a lot of detail. So what is the ask, like the action, and what are we hoping to learn as a result?
Okay. So I'm going to actually put a motion on the floor right now. And
Okay.
the ask is, or the motion is for the board to authorize our district counsel, Rogelio Ruiz, to consult with Sheet Metal Workers Local 104 and their attorney to refine the legal aspects of the proposal that is being brought forward to the East Side Union High School District for consideration and adoption. So that's the extent of the action tonight. At a future time, we will actually be discussing and assessing the specifics of this proposal and whether we want to adopt it or not.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Yes.
Okay, I've already moved for approval. You can second it. I put a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments? And if not, please call the roll.
We have.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have a request to speak. Let me call to the podium, Veronica Guizar. We're really getting to know you tonight. State your name for the record.
Veronica Guizar.
Start the clock, please. Mr. Superintendent.
I'm glad I'm here so I could hear this about the construction workers. My ex-husband was a construction worker. A lot of my family members have been construction workers, and they have worked various places where they were not paid. Even when they did make complaints, a lot of the complaints didn't go beyond them speaking to their supervisors. So my question is, if this goes through in whatever way, how will all of the construction workers be able to participate? Will it be anonymous as well? Because when they did make complaints, they would just be fired. They weren't needed the next day, and it was without pay. The other thing, I'm obviously not an expert at all in this. I haven't read it, but I'm just wondering, for lawyers to go over things, that's an expense, I'm assuming, and how much that expense could possibly be, and how does Eastside Union High School District benefit from that expense? Maybe I just didn't pay attention really clear when you were going over it, but those are my questions. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And the answers to your questions will come at another meeting when we actually look at the proposal. Tonight, we're just outlining the issue and authorizing the district attorney to work with their attorney to refine the legal aspects of what's going to come forward. And administration, would you please note Veronica Guizar's contact information, and when this comes back for discussion, would you please notify her so that she's aware of when it's going to be discussed again, all right? And thank you very much. I was just going to say something, I forgot it. I don't remember. Anyway, call the roll, please, on this vote.
Board President, we also have online public comment.
Oops. Okay, we have online comment. Go ahead.
Public comment online from AFT President Michael Delaney. Thank you for raising the issue of wage theft in this forum. That is the end of online public comment under this item.
Who was the person who made that comment?
AFT President Michael Delaney.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Folks, I want to say that my father was a laborer all his life, and so it matters to me that we really stand with people who can be vulnerable in the marketplace. Student board representative, do you have any comment? And if not, what is your vote as before we call the board vote?
I have no comments and my vote is aye.
Thank you very much. Please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, and it passes unanimously. 13.02, proposed amendment to the 2022-2023 board meeting calendar. Could you name that change? I don't have it in front of me.
Just a request to move the December meeting date from December 8th to December 13th.
That's right. Okay, we had to move it for legal reasons from December 8th to December 13th?
To December 13th, yes.
Okay, folks, if there's no discussion, student board rep, how do you vote?
You haven't made a motion.
Oops.
Okay.
We don't have a motion.
For approval.
I'll second.
Moved by Chavez, seconded by Cortese. Student board rep, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, and please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item 14.01 on the first reading of proposed amendments to board policy on the uniform complaint procedures. Is there any? Yes, Associate Superintendent Teresa Marquez.
Thank you. Good evening, board members, subcouncil community. Teresa Marquez, Associate Superintendent for Ed Services. I bring to you for a first reading board policy specific to uniform complaint policies. I just want to mention to the board that there are a number of board policies and admin regulations that require updating. Some as a result of our federal program monitoring, some as a result of our agreement with the Office for Civil Rights, and some as a result of our review of our special education programs. Within these policies, we have those such as Board Policy 5144 and Board Policy 5144.1, where because of their impact to teachers' practice and direct services to student, we sought input from our various stakeholders. And then there are those such as Board Policy 1312.3 brought today for a first reading, which are based on mandates, ed codes, and requirements needed to be in compliance. And so we don't necessarily seek input outside of our legal counsel, given the nature of these specific board policies. Where we will seek input related to these board policies is how we train, who we train, and the best approach to take in meeting the legal requirements. Why the changes to this particular board policy? There have been changes to the Title IX federal guidelines, and because there is new language that has been brought forth by the California School Boards Association specific to this board policy, and we want to be aligned with that particular language. I highlight just a couple of areas that are of greatest impact in terms of the changes that we are seeking with this change to this board policy. One is that it's adding complaint categories, and that complaint category is the accommodation for pregnant and parenting students. It's also adding protection against discrimination based on immigration status, as well as school-related law enforcement interactions.
Sorry, can we see a visual as you speak?
You can open the first reading, yeah, see if that one's, so you can see the differences there. So you could see, and I'm not pointing out all the changes, but I'm pointing some of the key ones that are probably gonna have the greatest impact to the work that we do. And so you could see there the accommodation for our pregnant and parenting students, and then the protection against discrimination that of the immigration status and any interactions with law enforcement. And so this is just the first reading.
Yes, Member Cortez.
So how much of this, of the changes incorporated here are CSBA language?
All of them.
It's all
Yes.
CSBA?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Comment or question? No. And we're on item 14.01. There's no other comment or question, then we need a motion. No.
No, it's just a first
Excuse
reading.
me, this is
Yes.
the first reading.
Yeah,
All right.
just receiving it.
very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, Teresa.
Item 15.01, approving contracts for professional services over 25,000. A motion is in order.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Cortese, seconded by Doe. Student board member, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, she votes, and excuse me, they vote. And call the roll. Please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item 16.01 on workforce diversity, and our Associate Superintendent for Human Resources, Mr. Tom.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Tom Nguyen, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, here to provide you with a brief update on the district's goal of diversifying its workforce and encouraging just a greater representation of our student population. So just like what we start off every board meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance, we start every presentation with our core beliefs, which is the four, all students are welcome as they are, strengths and areas of weakness are recognized, adults respond positively. The presentation type kind of hits on all of those aspects, but in particular, the first and third one, where all students are welcome as they are. Keep in mind that 91% of our students are from diverse backgrounds. and you'll get that in a later slide as well. That adults respond positively, and the presentation speaks to the adults that we have working in our system, from teachers to administrators, to our classified employees, all employees. So from a national perspective, I'm not going to read the entire quote for you, but this comes from our former education secretary under President Obama, essentially stating that it's important for all schools and teachers and workforces to be diverse, and that all students, not just colored students, but non-colored students, benefit from having a teaching workforce that is diverse. So on that call, and on that philosophy, how has Eastside responded? We annually attend our local and regional job fairs. We study historical data. We continue our strong relationships with TFA for placement. We engage with our site leaders for recruiting of staff members. We continue our strong partnerships with our local universities for student teacher placements. We accept all years of service for incoming staff members. We have great compensation packages. We have labor peace, and we provide service credit for our social workers who intern at our sites. So let's look at the overall national, state, local data. And by far, heads and shoulders in comparison to the state and national data, we are way ahead of the curve in terms of having a diverse teaching force or teacher workforce, excuse me. 57% of our staff members or teachers are from diverse backgrounds. And you can see the comparison to what it is in the country, the state, the county, and even some of our local partners in the area. When we look at a more just within ourselves from locally, as far as the numbers that we currently have 21,000 plus students. That's the breakdown as far as some the ethnic breakdowns. And as I mentioned, 91% of our students are from diverse backgrounds. And that kind of reflects at all of our categories of employees where we stand from a diverse workforce. In total, when we take all 1,820 employees, 64% of our workforce are from diverse backgrounds. And that's a great number, a number that we're very proud of. We then look at, in the next several slides, it's just a longitudinal look over the past 15 years in terms of progress that we've made from 2007 all the way up into this current year. And you can see the trend graphs. These are by percentages, and each color denotes that particular ethnicity. So you can kind of see visually how we've progressed or migrated or moved from year to year. Here you have the teaching staff. The next one are our certificated administrators year to year, and then followed by our classified managers. Next slide, and then our classified staff in the last slide. And then there's, though we've made great improvements and our numbers are something that we're really proud of. Of course, there's always work that has to be continued. There's work that needs to be done. And of course, that's utilizing our Educator Effectiveness Grant. We have an MOU come to the board regarding the use of that grant with classified staff members at the next board meeting to encourage our classified staff members to get teaching credentials, to join our teaching and certificate workforce. Expand our recruiting efforts, maybe utilize not just the traditional, show up to the county for the job fair, but look at Zoom job fairs, around the nation or around other parts to just widen our job pool, widen our candidate pool. Continue our data analysis. We post positions for longer periods of time and sooner so that we can capture a greater variety of applicants. Ultimately, we hire the best applicants for the position, but by posting positions for a longer period of time, it enables us to gather more applications. We will continue our collaboration with administrators and managers, and then perhaps look at incentivizing student teacher placements more so than what we are currently doing. Perhaps, considering years of service credit for that, just like what we do with the social workers, or provide even a small stipend. That's something that we can explore. We haven't done that, but that's an incentive that we can look into. social media, continue to work with TFA. We have a great relationship, partnership with them for our staff placement. And we're looking forward to continue that relationship and working with our marketing director to develop recruiting literature and videos and distribute to our local university. And of course, all this data and all these beautiful charts can't be done without the help of our human resource technicians and HR department. They keep track of our staff demographics on a monthly basis. And so on any given month, we know exactly who we have working for us. But then also Nadia Davis, Mr. Leisure, Patty, and the IT team for giving us the detailed student demographic data spanning 15 years. Questions?
Members of the board, comments, questions? Okay, I can't see Von's hand. So go ahead, Member Von Lay.
Yes, I want to say that thank you, Associate Superintendent Tom Wynn, for the presentation on diversity. This is very good presentation, and I saw a lot of progress since, in the last 5 years. My question to you is, you did mention a little bit about social workers. We have about 27 social workers in our district. Do you know how many are Asian or Hispanic and also Vietnamese? Because I know one of the questions I was addressed last time, because our student population needs someone that can speak the language and understand the culture when they come to, the area that they need some help on social services.
I don't have the exact breakdown of demographics of our social workers, but we can pull that up and perhaps give it to you on a Friday update.
Okay.
Because we have that data, but I just don't know it off the top of my head right now.
All right, thank you. Good presentation. That's all I have.
Vice President Chavez.
Thank you for putting this together. It is clear that we've made a lot of progress over the last few years, especially coming into this year. It's clear that it's harder to get folks to really come into the education space, right, and work here. And so thank you for all your work here. Since I've known you for years, I've known you to be somebody who's super innovative, always trying new things. And I think that's why we've been able to largely why we've been able to get to where we're at. So I want to acknowledge you for that. One question that I have is exit interviews. Do we do exit interviews to learn, like, where are there opportunities for us to grow and, inspire and motivate people to come to Eastside?
That's an awesome question. We have not in the past, but we have developed and have worked with our partners to develop what we'll call a separation agreement. Currently, when someone resigns from a district or leaves the district, they send us an email, send us a letter, but we've developed a form that requests greater information. And so it provides them with a survey to ask those very questions. What do we do well? What can we do better? And if they're not comfortable answering the questionnaire, they can request an exit interview with either myself or Ms. Nunn or anyone in HR so that we can discuss with them, the reasons why they choose to leave our district. And so that's something that we have in the pipelines that's coming very soon. So that's an awesome question.
Yeah, I'd love to continue learning about how that progresses, because I think there can be some opportunities there to learn on where we move forward, like factually based on what is not working. I also understand it can take some capacity, so I really appreciate you thinking about different ways how to gather that information, but nonetheless gather information so that we know how to move forward. And another thing I have to acknowledge is, while we're making progress, your acknowledgement that there's still work to be done. That is how we continue to make progress, and we don't stop. Right. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sorry. Yes, Board Member Cortez.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I mean, obviously it's great to see this you know, the trajectory of the diversification of our staff, particularly our teachers. You know, I have been talking for years with Dr. David Lopez, the former president of National Hispanic University before they went through their transition. And I don't know where he is with it today, but he was designing this Maestro program, which is how do we, you know, cultivate teachers from here for here, right? So one day we did a field trip to our, you know, teaching academy at Independence, right? Isn't that where it is? Yeah. And I think that's a great thing, right? I think bringing people from outside the region here is difficult, right? I don't have to tell you that. Like when people go, wow, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house goes for $1.5 million, you know, I mean, that, right? That's nuts. Like who can do that, right? So I think this model of from here for here is a good one because we can also, you know, draw on the natural diversity that is our community, right? So are there ways that we can partner with, you know, somehow linking, you know, what we're doing already at Independence, or maybe expanding that and maybe working, you know, with partners like National University or Santa Clara University or San Jose State or others, local universities that are providing, you know, teacher credentials? I mean, is there a way we can to expand that or codify that?
We can. In a national study, it was determined that there's a funnel effect from students who are interested, or the high school, diversity of high school students, to college enrollment, to graduation. And so as it goes, you know, along the pathway, it funnels down to, you get to a point where there's just a smaller number of folks who are into the teaching field from diverse backgrounds as in the beginning. But absolutely, we can begin. And I love the notion of local, you know, from here for here. That's why at the next board meeting, we're bringing an MOU to encourage our classified staff members. We have a very diverse classified staff, you know, grouping to encourage them to become teachers and counselors and certificate staff members. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, this year alone, we had 7 staff members who moved from the classified ranks into our teaching and certificate ranks, and we want to encourage more of that. Yeah. And so we recognize that our local classified folks are part of the community. They know our students, they know our staff, they know who we are. Their philosophies are aligned with us. They've been working for us, and so we want to cultivate that. And that's the MOU that's coming actually in about 9 days. So, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comment or question? And is there any action needed here?
No action.
Okay, this is a report. All right, informational report. Well, if
I guess one other thing I meant to say and didn't is the data that is of most concern to me is the representation of our African American teachers. That, you know, it's a low percentage, and I know that that statistics with low numbers are often you know, difficult to project with any accuracy, but you know, I've just sort of noticed an exodus of African American neighbors from our community in general, and I'm just wondering if there's things we can do to sort of.
So from our student demographics, our African American population from 2007 to 2022 has tapered off. We were, you know, above 4% back then from 2007, and we're at about 2% now. In the meantime, our African American staff members have remained relatively constant from 5% to about 4% currently. So our staffing level has remained constant. Our population of students has declined a little bit.
So at least the population is tracking with the teacher population is at least tracking with the student population.
We're actually doing a little better because it's maintaining at a higher rate than our student population.
Thank you for that.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to call to the podium for a public comment, Veronica Guizar. Said we're getting to know you tonight.
Veronica Guizar. When I was looking at what person just presented, my question went to, I would be interested to know the percentages of the different ethnic groups here in San Jose. Comparing to those percentages of those ethnic groups, how is it compared to the people that are employed by this district? I think one of them was 43% was white, and like you said, 4 or 5% was Black. When I look around the neighborhoods, I see a lot of African Americans. And so I understand that maybe the students are 2%. I'm assuming that the students are in high school. So did they drop out before they got there? So I don't think it's a clear picture of the ethnic groups that are here in San Jose that can, be represented in the schools. So if we could have, if it's possible to have the demographics or, the ethnicities in San Jose, a percentage, and if we compare it to the school, the people that are hired by school. Now, the other thing I was interested, just like Patty indicated, let me see if I could read here. Okay, what is the district doing to make it more accessible for other races to be hired by the Eastside Union High School District? I can use an example like affirmative action when we went to, universities and to help level out the playing field. So is there any leveling out of the playing field in, hiring different races for the district? Just a thought. And language barriers. I did hear, where Asian groups or other groups, there's not that many people that are, okay. So I guess it's done. Sorry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments and your questions. And you can check with Mary Gillen in the back and she'll get you in touch with how to get the response to the information you're seeking, okay? All right, thank you very much. If there's nothing further, we're going to move on to item 16.02, approve new administrative job description and salary range for Director of Employee Relations. Again, Associate Superintendent.
Thank you. Thank you. This item is requesting an approval for a new position. This is for the Director of Employee Relations. That will work out of the Human Resources Office. It's largely a compliant piece. As Associate Superintendent Marquez mentioned earlier, Title IX regulations have changed. Our UCP regulations have also changed. And so this is in response to that, and also the tremendous number of complaints that we've received from students, by students, et cetera. In a way, some people may feel that that's a bad thing, but we think that's a positive thing because we've taught students to be advocates for themselves. And so, with this self-advocacy and whatnot, they're more empowered, and that's a good thing. But we have to respond accordingly and comply with the compliance piece of this.
Because I don't have a full agenda on my screen, is there an action needed here?
Yes, there is.
Okay, well then motion is in order.
Move for approval.
Oops. Public comments, go ahead. Oh, Vaughn moved to approve it. Let me first ask and then I'll take the motion. Do we have any comments, Mary Gillen? Mr. Superintendent, any online? Okay, so there are no comments and the motion is by Member Lay for approval. And do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Chavez. If there's no further discussion, Student Board Member, how do you vote?
Aye.
Student Board Member votes aye. Please call the roll.
President Herrera?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
Clerk Cortese?
Aye.
Member Lay?
Aye.
Member Doe?
Passes unanimously. Moving on to item 16.03, new administrative job description and salary range for student support coordinator. Yes,
Thank you.
Superintendent Tom.
Again, this position comes and will report to Educational Services, specifically to the Director of Instructional Services. It is a coordinator position to coordinate 504s and SSTs. We want to ensure that those students in particular get the adequate services that they need to be successful. And at this point, we currently don't have anyone overseeing that. And so we want to be sure that for compliance reasons that these students get the services that they need.
We have a request to speak here from Julio Pardo. And as president of CSEA, he has up to 5 minutes for his comments.
Good evening, board. Julio Pardo, President, Classified Employees, Chapter 187. I have to say that sitting back there, there's been a few items that, based on the comments I've heard, I'd like to say a lot of things, but I will talk to you individually about them. But I will say that basically it has to do with your wages theft. And student behavior. I can tell you right now, student behavior, Oak Grove's not the only site that has issues with student behavior. I'm pretty sure you take most of the sites, you'll find out there's a lot of problems. So I think the board needs to really look at that very closely. Regarding wages, I'm glad you're doing this because my father also, and I used to work in construction also, and we had to talk to people several times. But I would hope you start thinking about your own employees, the fact that there have been a lot of issues with wages, and that you start looking at, maybe our own district on some things. But I'm here really to talk about these two positions. I don't want to talk on both of them individually. These two new positions, I'm not disagreeing that you need them. I understand. I spoke to Mr. Nguyen. I understand why you need to have these two new positions. But I'd like to remind the board that for many years, we have been saying that there are many classified positions you could definitely use because of the workload and because of things that are happening on the sites. For instance, health clerks. Health clerks are divided up. They do not work at one site. When they are not on campus, other people have to work in their position and they don't have access to some confidential material for students. And so if something happens to certain students, what are we supposed to do? Because the health clerk's not there to let us know whether the student can take a certain shot or can take a certain medicine. We have our attendance clerks. If one attendance clerk's missing, all of a sudden we only have the attendance secretary, and there's a lot of work that's to be done with attendance. That's one of our main things to drawing money from the state. We used to have on most sites 3 attendance clerks and an attendance secretary. Now we have an attendance secretary and 1 attendance clerk. It just makes things tough. We have language assessment clerks. We still have several throughout the district. I think currently we're down to 1. We're going to add 2 more. We used to have more than that, to the point where now they have to get other people within the district to cover the work that these people used to do. People that have to do work that's outside of their job descriptions. And the one I really don't understand, and I know I'll probably talk to you about this one. We have an assistant warehouse supervisor or a warehouse assistant supervisor, but we don't have a supervisor. So why can't this person just be a supervisor? Why do you have to have an assistant supervisor with no supervisor? It doesn't make sense. Obviously that person's doing the job. So I know by saying you need a supervisor, that's a management position. It's not classified, it's not part of my unit, but it would help my assistant supervisor to have someone that's really there on site with him to do things. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. So I'm hoping that you all will look at this to remember that the classified staff also could use more positions. I didn't bring this up last time, but you did have a budget analysis that shows you may have $99 million left over at the end of the year. Let's use some of that money to get some more classified people in, or at least reward those that are doing a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Pardo. Any other public comment, or members of the board, any other comments? If not, a motion is in order.
I'll move to approve.
I already moved approve. We need second.
Moved by Cortese, seconded by Lay.
Did she go first? Did you
I
go
went
first?
first.
No, you
Let
went
her
first.
go
I
first.
went first.
She went first.
Okay, moved by Lay and seconded by Cortese.
That works.
If there's no further comments, student board member, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, and please call the roll. Student board member votes aye and call the roll.
President Herrera,
Aye.
Vice President Chavez,
Aye.
Clerk Cortese,
Aye.
Member Lay,
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. And moving on to 17.01 on capital bond project contract for $50,000. Motion is in order.
Move to approve.
Moved by Cortese and seconded by Herrera. Student board member, how do you vote?
Aye.
And, please call the roll. And board member Doe is temporarily out of the room.
President Herrera,
Aye.
Vice President Chavez,
Aye.
Clerk Cortese,
Aye.
Member Lay,
Aye.
Member Doe is out of the room.
Yeah, and that passes unanimously with those present. 17.02 on the design build services RFP for modernization at Mount Pleasant High School. Questions, comments, or a motion? Approving the design.
Could I just get a quick update on where we are with this? So this is
Mr. Lucas, if you'd like to go for it.
Yeah, just like a 2-minute update on what this is.
Hi, Julio Lucas, Senior Manager of the Construction Bond Program. And this item and the following item are to approve the design phase of the design build process. This one here is for Mount Pleasant, which is with Rodan Builders, and the following item is with Alton Construction for Oak Grove. Again, this is the beginning of the design build. So what we're doing here is establishing who we will be working with in bringing forth the design that later will be a presentation and approval for the board for the build side of design build. But let me do one more subject here. It is a dining hall facility for Mount Pleasant and a similar effort for Oak Grove.
Like a student union type of?
Like that, what we've been calling student unions is essentially has an administrative component, a learning center library component, and then a place where food is made, served, and enjoyed. This is the place where food is made, served, and enjoyed.
Okay.
So this is that feature.
Okay.
So in previous years, the board has approved the learning center component where we at Oak Grove on the second story of the admin building. We have improvements there that have been well used and enjoyed for a couple of years. At Mount Pleasant, a similar story where at the center of the shape of Mount Pleasant, there's a learning center space there where it's a library and other student services occur and happen. The new building will be adjacent to that in Mount Pleasant's case and kind of bridge both efforts so that it is more like the outcomes that we've seen at the total student union experiences we have at other sites.
I'm just curious because one of the things that I have appreciated about the student union design is the sort of the built-in supervision that's there. Like, has that been considered in these?
It has been considered for the one at Mount Pleasant. It is part of our goal to have that, what we've been coining as passive supervision, or a way for it to be more active than closed. Places that tend to have closed doors when they're not in use, multi-purposes, theaters, etc. We are working hard not to create that kind of locked box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So is that going to be
part of the design effort? Once we bring these guys on, and already internally with the bond program, it's definitely that's the motivation to do exactly what you're saying.
Okay, so you've worked with the school site councils to come up with these are the lists that the design needs to, this is the items that the design needs to include or address?
We work with the planning committee, yes, and site leadership as the lead for that.
Okay.
But yes, that is the goal and what we're striving for, to make sure it's not a locked box.
Okay. So what we're approving tonight is just a process to put out the RFP to get those bids back,
what
right?
we're approving the design contract for the design build entity, what we call the DBE, design build entity.
Oh, so we are awarding that contract. So they've already been through the process.
They've been through a selection process where we interviewed three contenders, and this is the winning party, or the party that we'd like to bring forward to you for approval, all of you for approval.
Okay, so they went through the whole, excuse me, scoring and all of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comment or question, or a motion is in order?
Board President, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Julio Lucas, I remember several years ago, we did have the process of choosing, those company that bid on our project, but are we still using the lowest bid, or we still gonna go with one of those criteria that you already emphasized on this item 17.02? Am I correct that before we choose the lowest bid and now we have the different process, or are we still gonna use the same way?
I'll answer the question. The process is the same process we used for the multi-site swimming pool projects, Yerba Buena, Overfelt, Adult Ed, Evergreen, Andrew Hill, and some others. The point is, what we're looking for here is best value, and based on the criteria here, versus a low bid or striving for a lower number than to come back later and actually reveal a true number. So the goal here again is to establish this criteria based on best value, and that is allowable and part of the design build process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that reminder. Any comments, questions? And if not, a motion is in order.
Move for approval.
Okay, moved by Vice President Chavez and seconded by Member Doe. Okay, and if there's no further discussion, student board member, how do you vote?
Aye.
Student board member votes aye, and please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Aye.
It passes unanimously, and on to 17.03 on the design build for Oak Grove modernization of Building K.
I'll move to approve. This is the same.
Moved by Chavez, seconded by Doe. Excuse. Okay, I actually looked in her direction and said Chavez. Okay, moved by Cortese and seconded by Doe. If there's no further discussion, student board member, how do you vote?
Aye.
Student board member votes aye. Please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
Member Doe.
Okay, and thank you. We're moving on to the consent calendar, which is sections 18 through 22 and all of the items therein. There is a motion in order or any action to pull an item.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, moved by Cortese, seconded by Chavez. And if there's no further discussion, student board member, how do you vote?
Aye.
Student board member votes aye. Please call the roll.
President Herrera.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
Clerk Cortese.
Aye.
Member Lay.
Aye.
Member Doe.
And the vote is unanimous. Moving on to section 23, 2302 and 2303. It is the custom of the board to receive these for the record, and if there's any discussion desired, we bring it back for discussion under a different part of the agenda. So we are receiving the annual developer fee report for 2021, 2022, and receiving the final report on the English Learner Program Review. And if there's no request to discuss, bring it back for discussion, I'm going to move on to the next part of the agenda. which is future agenda items, section 24. Members of the board, is there any such request? Member Doe.
Recently, my 7-year-old complained that the tooth fairy is not paying her appropriately. And I was quite surprised by such a statement from a 7-year-old. But she said, well, you get $1 with tooth, but she said, well, I cannot buy anything with $1 anymore. And so she wrote a lengthy letter for 7 years old. It's quite lengthy, to ask for $20. Now, obviously, she did not get her $20 request, but what she did say on it is correct. There is inflation. Now, she did not spell inflation correctly, but her position is still true, is that inflation does affect the ability to for her to buy the thing that she's hoping to buy with her money. And inflation affects people differently, even though it affects everyone. And so I am asking the district to provide an analysis of whether we are meeting the demand of the market on a number of key positions. Substitute teacher, for example, I've noticed that it affects us, the ability to have enough substitute teachers. I know a lot of our admins are, in the last few weeks, have been on site responding to when teachers are absent. Perhaps we are, whether we paying enough for project educators or all the key positions so that we can meet the demand.
Member Doe, rather than going into the issue, you can name it and describe it briefly. And
so let's start with that. I asked that one. Third. That will be the first one. Number two, I am asking for the district to collect, analyze, and develop method to improve the Vietnamese language program, specific way to update our Vietnamese textbook to include word language methodologies and strategy that will be suitable for both native and non-native Vietnamese speaker. And last on my list will be restroom accessibility, availability of sanitary products, and appropriate level of staffing.
Okay, thank you for your
separate items. I will send an email to our superintendent so we can include that for future agenda.
Thank you for your request. And our practice is it gets referred to the administration and brought back for, in some way, recording it for the record and indicating some sense of when it might be brought back. And if there's any urgency beyond what the administration is proposing, we'll just discuss it again for when it would be scheduled. Okay, so thank you for your request. Any others? If not, I'm going to move on to item 25, which is bringing us to the close of our meeting and board comments. I'm going to begin to my far left with Member Doe. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to begin with our student representative. Any closing comments? Oh, you have your own section. Ooh. Okay, I'm getting used to having a new student board representative. I'm going to start with Board Member Doe to my far left for board comments.
I have privilege to attend it in the homecoming recently, a couple of days ago. Thank you for that. It was quite impressive. Of course, it's probably my first homecoming dance in 30 years. So I don't have a lot to measure, but it looked quite impressive. Thank you for the Indy staff for doing that. And also have the privilege of attending an event with my colleagues, vice presidents of the board, Ms. Lauren Chavez, for a Wi-Fi event along with our superintendents. And thank you very much. We are now providing community Wi-Fi at Independent High School. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Chavez.
Welcome, Lee. We're so thrilled to have you. Having the student voice, we were missing it. So we're very thrilled to have you. And you know, anytime you need anything, we're here for you. Next, I want to thank our board president, Manuel Herrera, for bringing the agenda item to measure and assess wage staff in connection to the district and capital bond projects. Yes, we support our students, our staff, but we also support our community, right? Schools are the heart of communities. And supporting issues like this, not just are directly connected to our schools, but to our families, support our students, which in turn have an impact on our schools. And this is so very important. And it's not always the first thing that people think about when we think about schools. So I want to thank you for bringing this important topic to the table. And the last thing I was going to share, my board colleague Brian Doe shared, Eastside Access in a few months will be 300,000 people with a free permanent Wi-Fi infrastructure. So just super excited that Eastside is leading the way and showing not just communities throughout the state of California, but throughout the nation of what is possible. So feeling a lot of pride.
Thank you. Board Clerk Cortese.
Just it's been a joy to work with our new student governing board leadership. Well, the entire board is all returning or newly elected or appointed. It's exciting to see the representation expand. So we've got some representation from schools that haven't participated in the last year or two. So that's very exciting to see. I'm also excited to see that the current leadership is really putting a strong emphasis on attendance and participation, because when the students are there, the conversations are rich. And so I'm looking forward to the implementation of the new changes you've made in your bylaws and to working with a really great team of student leaders this year. Thanks.
Thank you. And Board Member Von Lay.
Yes, I also want to welcome Student Governing Board Representative Lee Henny. Unfortunately, today I could not be in person. I want to thank you, my board, accommodating me for the Zoom link due to my business conference. And I really want to say that thank you all teachers, staff, and administrator have done such a good job to support our students. Appreciate the comments from President CRCA Julio Pardo about the wait staff, that we look also for our, teachers and staff who work in our district beside those construction bond measure employee. And to me, that I'm very, very glad that I'll be able to contribute it, but not has that much time. Thank you for leadership of our President, Board Manuel Herrera, Board Vice President Lorena Chavez on the digital device, as Board Brian Doe. I think we are working together and really support our student, staff, and teacher. Thank you.
Thank you. And my comment is to appreciate the board and its readiness to move forward on the issue of wage theft. It was really gratifying to see how immediately the significance of that was grasped and the necessity for it. I believe that our board and our district has the opportunity to break new ground in this field. And as we get into the actual proposal itself, it'll become clear just how that is being proposed and why it is an innovative way to test the possibilities in the field. So thank you again. For our student board representative, like everyone else, I welcome you, we welcome you, look forward to working with you. You'll have your opportunity now to make any closing comment. I also want to verify, I think I recall seeing that your preferred pronouns are they. Is it they and them? Okay, so your preferred pronouns are they and them, and as you probably often experience, people forget that, but feel free to remind us at any time that those are your pronouns. Go ahead and make your closing comment.
I'm also thrilled to be here, and thank you all for the warm welcome. I already mentioned previously that we were working on a student poll, and we have completed that and sent it out through social media. We still have yet to send that out through email and morning announcements at our different schools. But once we get the results for that, and by next week, we should have enough responses to have an idea of the direction that we're going in this year. We'll formulate 3 to 4 core goals that we'll be focusing on as a group this year. and most likely we'll be building off of our core goals from the past few years. And yeah, that's about it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Superintendent, for your comments.
Yes, I was able to meet with the Student Governing Board this week, and I'm really excited about working with this group, super focused, really wanting to be very intentional and looking to be collaborative with the board in when they decide their focus for this year. And like we said, we'll get that email out to students so that students can weigh in. I'm also very mindful that the temperature's getting cooler, which is great, and autumn's kind of hit us. And I just reflect on the fact that I want to thank all the members of our community for how they started this year, starting in community before school start, getting together with trainings at Independence and getting ready to meet our students, taking on a new educational learning system with Canvas, really focusing on positive community across our sites, and I thank for that. We do know that we have work to do in terms of with substitutes and finding a response to that. That's not something we're not looking to resolve, and understand its impact on our system as a whole. And also hear some of the comments from this evening that we still have work to do to build positive climate on our campuses, and we're committed to do that. And just want to thank the board, all our staff, and the student groups and our community partners who've been about that work so far this year. And I'm looking forward to do great things to finish this semester.
Thank you very much. Item 25.04, any comments on board meeting evaluation?
Yep.
Yeah.
8:30.
Okay. All right. Well, the board is evaluating that this projection. Is there's general satisfaction with the conduct of the meeting, given that we're ending before 8:30 p.m. And it was a good meeting. So moving on to closed session report from legal counsel.
Good evening, board. Closed session item 4.02, expulsions. The board unanimously approved the recommendation for suspended expulsion in matter number 22-23-001. Closed session agenda item 4.09 in the matter of Office of Administrative Hearings case number 2022-080416. The board unanimously approved a settlement agreement in the case, which provides for the payment of funds by the district in the amount of up to $66,665 in reimbursable costs for education expenses, the payment of $6,000 in attorney's fees, mutual releases and waivers, and no admission of liability or culpability by any side. There are no further actions to report.
Thank you. And wow, we're at the point of adjournment. So it's been a good meeting. Good night to everyone. Meeting is adjourned.